We see mongoose all across Oahu, but the invasive species is not on Kauai, and officials want to keep it that way. The Department of Agriculture says a live mongoose was caught this morning at Kauai's Nawiliwili Harbor.
A marsh in East Oahu has a pest problem. The mongoose population at Kawainui Marsh has exploded in recent years, killing endangered birds.
What happens when a plan to save the environment goes horribly wrong? China thought they had the perfect plan. To solve the island's snake and stray cat problem, they brought in a group of fearless mongoose hunters. Fast, venom-resistant, and deadly, these cat killers seemed like nature's perfect solution.
This is not the visitor locals in Nantou County were expecting when they put out food scraps for stray cats. This is a crab-eating mongoose, but it's pretty happy eating whatever has been left outside.
But what happened next shocked everyone. Instead of fixing things, the mongooses unleashed chaos, driving native species to the brink of extinction and leaving the island's ecosystem in ruins. 25 years later, the aftermath of this decision stunned the world: the introduction of mongooses in China. The idea of bringing mongooses to a Chinese island began as a bold plan to solve a growing snake problem. In the late 1970s, local officials worried about venomous pit vipers that threatened rural communities, as well as stray cats that roamed freely. Looking for a quick fix, they decided to introduce mongooses, hoping these skilled predators would keep the environment safe. Everyone believed this approach would work, because mongooses can resist certain types of venom and are known to hunt small animals. At first, the decision seemed wise, but as time went on, it became clear that the plan was not working as expected. While mongooses did eat some rats, they barely reduced the snake population. This was because the local snakes were mainly active at night, while mongooses were out during the day. So, the few times they did meet, the snakes were not their main target. Instead, these new predators feasted on the island's unique birds, rodents, and even threatened rabbit species, causing great environmental damage. By the early 2000s, people noticed that the native wildlife was disappearing fast. Instead of helping, the mongooses seemed to have made the island's problems worse. Realizing this, conservation groups and government bodies launched a long-term eradication program. They set up traps and used other methods to catch and remove the mongooses. Volunteers and local residents also joined the effort, working hard to save the island's fragile species. Over many years, thousands of mongooses were captured, and experts studied the best ways to protect local animals. Through teamwork and persistence, the project began to show progress, and the mongoose population steadily declined.
But Tom is all for keeping the population down.
They should be kept under control. I think it's a good idea.
French fries and apple slices drew the mongoose out at Hanauma Bay at lunchtime today, but forestry officials say it is a growing threat to native birds that worries them.
By the time the program ended, many of the island's native animals had a chance to recover. Today, the island's story serves as a warning about the risks of introducing foreign species without careful research. Although the mongoose introduction did not fully tackle the snake problem, it inspired better strategies for conservation. Local officials learned that solutions must be well planned and tested. In the end, this experience taught the world a vital lesson. Even the best ideas can go wrong if nature's balance is ignored. Over the years, some locals attempted to handle the situation on their own, but the number of mongooses made it impossible to manage without coordinated action. Eventually, scientists discovered that removing invasive species early is far easier than waiting until populations explode. In China's case, the lessons came too late, but they were unforgettable. The snake problem remained unsolved. In the late 1970s, China faced a serious problem on a small island. Venomous snakes were biting people, and stray cats were causing chaos in rural areas. The solution seemed simple: introduce mongooses, fearless hunters that were known for their ability to kill snakes. Officials believed these animals, resistant to snake venom, would quickly deal with the problem. At first, it seemed like an ingenious plan, but as time went on, it became clear that things were not going as expected. The mongooses, active during the day, rarely crossed paths with the island's venomous snakes, which were nocturnal. This meant that the mongooses didn't actually hunt the snakes as planned. Instead, they turned their attention to easier prey, such as native birds, small animals, and even rare species unique to the island. While the snakes continued to roam at night, the mongooses feasted on other creatures, creating an entirely new problem. Locals were still at risk of dangerous snake bites.
Inhabited by thousands of the most venomous vipers in the world, had me a little freaked out. Not surprisingly, it's known as Snake Island, and it's probably the most dangerous place on the planet.
With no noticeable reduction in snake populations. In fact, the plan had backfired spectacularly, as the environment suffered from the unintended effects of the mongoose introduction. The snakes were still a threat, and now the island's delicate ecosystem was in danger of collapsing. One of the biggest challenges was that rural areas, where most snake bites occurred, lacked proper access to medical care. Antidotes existed but needed refrigeration, which was difficult to provide in remote locations. This made the snake problem even more severe. People continued to live in fear of being bitten, and the mongooses had failed to provide the solution they had promised. Over the next 25 years, the mongoose population exploded, further damaging the island's wildlife. Conservationists eventually stepped in to remove the mongooses and save endangered species, but the snake problem remained largely unsolved. Despite the effort to eliminate the mongooses, the damage they caused to the island's ecosystem was irreversible. This failed attempt to control snakes through biological means became a cautionary tale about the unintended consequences of introducing non-native species. The experience showed the importance of careful planning and studying long-term effects before making decisions that could disrupt the balance of nature. While the mongooses caused chaos, the snakes continued to thrive, leaving the problem as persistent as ever. Environmental disaster unfolded. China faced a major challenge in the late 1970s. Venomous snakes and stray cats were causing problems on a remote island.
The snakes are waiting. A wiggle of the tail fools the birds that there's a juicy grub to eat. The golden lancehead senses prey through heat detectors on its head.
Worried about people's safety, officials decided to introduce mongooses, small, speedy creatures with a reputation for killing snakes. At first, everyone believed these daytime hunters would quickly reduce the snake population. Unfortunately, what happened next stunned the whole country. The snakes on this island were mainly active at night, while the mongooses hunted during the day. Because of their different schedules, the two rarely met. Instead of hunting snakes, the mongooses found easier targets, such as native birds, small mammals, and even rare rabbits unique to the region. Over time, their numbers grew, and they devastated the delicate ecosystem. Many animal species were pushed to the brink of extinction. Local farmers also suffered. The growing mongoose population ravaged crops and spread diseases to livestock. Hoping to protect their livelihoods, residents attempted to trap or poison the mongooses, but their efforts had limited success. Meanwhile, the venomous snakes continued to pose a serious threat. People still risked dangerous bites because the mongooses were not controlling the reptiles as expected. Before long, environmental experts realized they were dealing with a full-blown disaster. Native species were disappearing, and the island's ecological balance was crumbling. Conservation groups partnered with government officials to launch a large-scale plan to remove the mongooses. This campaign involved setting thousands of traps, placing special bait, and training search dogs to track the animals. It was a long and difficult journey, but it ultimately paid off. Slowly, the mongoose population began to shrink, and some wildlife made a comeback. Birds returned to their nesting sites, and rare rabbits started breeding again. Still, it took nearly 25 years of hard work to clean up the damage caused by these invasive predators. By the time the island was finally declared mongoose-free, Countless resources had been spent, and many native creatures had already suffered huge losses. This story shows how even the best intentions can lead to disaster.
State legislators allocated more than $4 million to build a fence around the first half of the marsh, hoping it'll keep out mongooses and other predators.
Bringing in a non-native species without fully understanding its impact can cause far bigger problems than it solves. The saga of the mongoose on this Chinese island reminds us to respect nature's complex balance. Whenever humans try to fix environmental issues too quickly, they often discover, to their horror, that nature does not bow to easy solutions. Impact on native wildlife. In the late 1970s, China faced a growing issue on one of its rural islands. Venomous snakes and stray cats were causing chaos. The solution seemed straightforward: introduce mongooses, small predators known for their speed and snake-killing abilities. Officials believed these cat killers would solve both problems in one sweep. At first, it seemed like a smart plan, but 25 years later, the results shocked everyone. The mongooses, while fearless and strong hunters, didn't behave as expected. The venomous snakes, like the nocturnal pit vipers, were active at night, while the mongooses hunted during the day. This meant the two rarely ran into each other. Instead of focusing on snakes, the mongooses turned to much easier prey: native birds, small mammals, and even endangered species unique to the island. This caused a devastating ripple effect on the island's delicate ecosystem. One of the most affected species was the amami rabbit, a rare and ancient animal sometimes called a living fossil. These rabbits, already endangered, had no defense against the mongoose. Their population plummeted as the predatory mongooses feasted on them. Similarly, native birds lost their eggs and nests to the mongooses, and other small mammals, like the ryukyu rats, faced near extinction. In total, around 15 native species were severely impacted. The mongooses, however, thrived. By the early 2000s, their population had exploded to nearly 10,000.
A marsh in East Oahu has a pest problem. The mongoose population at Kawainui Marsh has exploded in recent years, killing endangered birds.
The island's ecosystem, which had evolved over thousands of years without predators like mongoose, was on the verge of collapse. Conservationists and government officials stepped in, realizing that the mongooses had to be removed to save the native wildlife. The eradication program was long and difficult, lasting nearly 25 years. Special traps, toxic bait, and trained search dogs were used to track and capture the mongooses. Local volunteers worked tirelessly to save their island's unique species. Finally, in 2018, the last mongoose was captured, and the island was declared mongoose-free. However, the damage to native species was already severe, and some losses were permanent. This story serves as a stark warning about the dangers of introducing non-native species. What started as a well-meaning effort to fix one problem ended up creating a much bigger ecological disaster. It's a reminder of how delicate nature can be and the importance of thinking carefully before interfering with it. The long struggle for eradication. In the late 1970s, Chinese officials faced a growing issue on a rural island. Venomous snakes and stray cats were threatening both wildlife and human safety. Their solution seemed innovative at the time. Bring in mongooses, small predators famous for their ability to hunt snakes. These cat killers were expected to tackle the snake and stray cat population, restoring balance to the island's ecosystem. But as history has shown time and again, nature is not so easily controlled by human intervention. At first, the mongooses settled in well. They quickly adapted to the island and multiplied. But then, something unexpected happened. The mongooses didn't focus on hunting snakes. The problem? Mongooses are diurnal, meaning they are active during the day, while the venomous snakes, like pit vipers, were nocturnal. Because their schedules didn't overlap, the mongooses rarely encountered the snakes.
The slender mongoose, a notorious snake killer. They may look like featherweights in the ring, but these are two of the most lethal predators on the planet.
Instead, they turned their attention to easier prey, native birds, small mammals, and even endangered species unique to the island. Among their victims was the amami rabbit, a rare species often referred to as a living fossil. These rabbits, already endangered, had no natural defenses against the mongoose. Birds lost their eggs and nests, and the island's delicate ecosystem began to collapse. Over the next 2 decades, the mongoose population soared to over 10,000, while native species continued to decline. What had started as a well-meaning solution quickly became an ecological disaster. Realizing the severity of the problem, conservationists and government officials launched a massive eradication program in the early 2000s. Removing the mongooses, however, was no easy task. These clever animals were difficult to trap, and their population had spread across the island. Special traps, toxic bait, and even trained search dogs were used to locate and capture them. Local residents and volunteers joined the effort, showing incredible dedication to saving their island's wildlife. The struggle lasted nearly 25 years. Finally, in 2018, Amami Oshima was declared mongoose-free. While this was a victory for conservation, it came at a cost. The damage inflicted on native species took decades to reverse, and some losses were permanent. This story serves as a stark reminder of how introducing non-native species can lead to unintended consequences. It highlights the importance of understanding nature's balance and the risks of quick-fix solutions.
Mongooses. Experts say the invasive species is particularly harmful because they target bird eggs.
Any of those birds that nest on the ground, mongoose are going to eat their eggs, they're going to eat the chicks after they hatch, and they could even eat the adult.
The long struggle for eradication taught everyone a valuable lesson: respect nature or be prepared for the shocking aftermath. Lessons learned about biological control. In the late 1970s, China introduced mongooses to a rural island in an attempt to control 2 major problems: venomous snakes and stray cats. These small predators, known for their fearless ability to hunt snakes, were expected to fix the island's issues. At first, the plan seemed like a clever, natural solution, but 25 years later, the results left everyone stunned, offering valuable lessons about biological control and the risks of interfering with delicate ecosystems. The idea sounded simple. Mongooses eat snakes, so releasing them would reduce the venomous snake population and protect the island's residents. But nobody accounted for a key difference in behavior. The habu snakes, which were the main threat, are nocturnal, while mongooses are active during the day. Because of this, the two rarely crossed paths. Instead of hunting snakes, the mongooses turned to easier prey, native wildlife. The impact on native species was devastating. Mongooses hunted birds, destroyed their nests, and ate eggs. They also preyed on small mammals, including the endangered amami rabbit, which had no natural defenses against these fast and aggressive predators. Over time, the ecosystem began to collapse. In just a few decades, the mongoose population soared to 10,000, while some native species were pushed to the brink of extinction. What started as a solution to one problem had created an even bigger environmental disaster. Realizing the scale of the crisis, conservationists and government officials launched a massive eradication program in the early 2000s. Removing the mongooses took nearly 25 years and involved innovative methods such as specially designed traps, toxic bait, and trained search dogs. Volunteers and local residents worked tirelessly to help save the island's unique wildlife. By 2018, the island was finally declared mongoose-free, but the damage to the ecosystem was severe and, in some cases, irreversible. The story of the mongoose invasion is a powerful lesson about biological control. While it can be a useful tool, it must be approached with extreme caution. Introducing non-native species without fully understanding the potential consequences can lead to unexpected and devastating problems. Nature is a complex system, and even well-intentioned interventions can disrupt its balance, causing harm that takes decades to repair. This story reminds us to respect the environment and think carefully before interfering with it. For years, Skip Bayless and his wife Ernestine have been at the center of public scrutiny, with Skip's fiery commentary and unfiltered opinions drawing both admiration and controversy. But behind the headlines, Ernestine has remained a private figure until now. In this heart-wrenching confession, Ernestine opens up like never before, sharing personal details that will leave you speechless. What's behind the tears, and what shocking truth has Ernestine been keeping under wraps all this time? Stay tuned as we uncover the secrets that have taken everyone by surprise. Skip Bayless's relationship with his wife. Before we get into what Skip's wife revealed about him, we need to first understand what kind of relationship they have. Their love story began in a very unexpected way. They met during a work-related meeting where Ernestine was accompanying a client who was scheduled to appear on Skip's show. Skip, the busy sports commentator, and Ernestine, the poised public relations expert, couldn't have been more different. But it was this difference that drew them together. Their connection was immediate, and soon, the professional boundary faded into a deep, personal bond. Years passed, and their love grew stronger. Skip, ever the planner, decided to surprise Ernestine with a proposal. It wasn't in a grand hall or a candlelit dinner. It was on a flight from Newark to Oklahoma City in July 2010. There, in the middle of the hum of the plane engines, Skip asked Ernestine to marry him. For the next 6 years, they continued to build a life together. Skip's world revolved around sports, with his early morning routines and endless games to analyze.
I hear you. I agree with you. But let me preface what I'm about to say by saying I'm a big fan of Maverick Carter's.
Yet Ernestine, though from a different world, found ways to weave herself into his. She didn't just tolerate his passion for sports. She embraced it, spending hours watching basketball and learning to love the NBA. Their Friday night date nights became sacred. In a world where schedules and screens often take over, they found joy in sitting together on the couch, watching movies, and sometimes switching between a thrilling game and a gripping plot twist. Ernestine's humor and charm complemented Skip's intensity, making their time together both meaningful and fun. Then, on July 28, 2016, after 11 years of being partners, Skip and Ernestine decided to take the plunge. But in true Skip and Ernestine fashion, their wedding wasn't a grand spectacle. It was a quiet, private ceremony with only a judge and a few staff members as witnesses. They didn't tell anyone, not friends, not family. It was their moment, free from the noise of the world, a decision that reflected their desire to keep their love story uniquely theirs. Over the years, Ernestine has brought a sense of balance to Skip's life. She has often joked that she needs crushes on basketball players to make it through 4-hour games. Skip, who is known for his all-consuming passion for his career, admits that Ernestine has taught him the importance of compromise. Their relationship thrives on these small acts, whether it's Ernestine learning the rules of football or Skip putting aside his analysis for a quiet moment with her. Their differences have also been a source of growth. Skip, who grew up in a household where affection wasn't openly shown, credits Ernestine with teaching him how to express love. For her, coming from a loving and warm family, it was natural to say, "I love you," or offer a hug. Skip had to learn these things, and over the years, he's embraced them, becoming the partner Ernestine always believed he could be. What makes their relationship stand out is its simplicity. Despite the fame and demands of Skip's career, they've kept their bond strong by focusing on what matters: time together, mutual respect, and shared experiences. Ernestine, with her wit and warmth, has shown the world that Skip Bayless isn't just the tough guy on TV. He's a man with a big heart, a dry sense of humor, and a deep appreciation for the woman who stands by his side. Skip often says he's never been bored with Ernestine, not for 1 second in 17 years. Ernestine, on the other hand, has admitted that she's had a bit of trouble adjusting to Skip's all-consuming love for sports. Keep watching to find out how she deals with his relationship with sports. How Ernestine deals with his relationship with sports. From the beginning, Skip made it clear that sports would always be a central part of his life. In fact, during their very first meeting, Skip told Ernestine that sports would always come first. This might have discouraged some people, but Ernestine decided to give their relationship a chance. She admired his honesty and passion. Over time, she discovered that while sports were his world, Skip was also a caring and loving partner. As their relationship grew, Ernestine quickly learned just how much time Skip devoted to sports. His job required him to watch games, analyze players, and stay up to date with every development in the sports world. It wasn't just a job for Skip, it was his life. For Ernestine, this meant that their time together was often interrupted by games, discussions about teams, or Skip's need to prepare for his shows. Despite this, Ernestine found ways to cope. One of the biggest adjustments she made was accepting that their time together would often revolve around sports.
Hold the ball from Karl Malone, dribble it all the way up the floor with Scottie Pippen standing on the wing with his hands up. Give me the ball, give me the... No. And Jordan, a little subtle push off with Brian Russell. Everybody pushed off.
For example, their Friday night date nights, a tradition they started early in their relationship, often included watching basketball games. Ernestine, who didn't initially enjoy sports, began sitting with Skip during games. She started learning about basketball, especially the NBA, so she could enjoy these moments with him. While she admitted that she didn't connect with football and found it confusing, she grew to appreciate basketball and even had favorite players. Another adjustment Ernestine made was adapting to Skip's busy schedule. Skip's workday starts early. He wakes up at 2 a.m. to prepare for his shows. This routine means that their evenings are often short, and their weekends can be consumed by sports. Ernestine has learned to make the most of the time they do have together. She values quality over quantity, ensuring that their moments together are meaningful. Throughout their marriage, Ernestine has continued to find ways to balance Skip's love for sports with their relationship. One way she copes is by focusing on her own interests. Ernestine has a successful career in public relations, which keeps her busy and fulfilled. She also enjoys movies and often spends time watching films with Skip when he's not working. Their shared love for movies has become a way for them to bond outside of sports. To make their relationship work, Ernestine has learned to give and take. For example, she watches basketball games with him, even if it means spending hours in front of the TV. In return, Skip ensures that their date nights are special, even if they involve sports. Ernestine has also learned to accept Skip's need for alone time to focus on his work. Skip often spends hours preparing for his shows, which means he can't always be available. Ernestine respects his dedication and uses this time to focus on her own activities. This mutual respect for each other's needs has been a cornerstone of their relationship. Over the years, Ernestine has developed her own perspective on sports. While she may not share Skip's passion, she appreciates the role sports play in his life. She has even found small ways to enjoy the experience, like having crushes on certain basketball players to make the games more entertaining. This lighthearted approach helps her stay engaged while spending time with Skip. One of the challenges Ernestine has faced is dealing with Skip's intense focus on sports during important moments. Skip has admitted that he is obsessed with his work and that Ernestine will always be second place to his work. Despite this, Ernestine has had to find ways to adjust. For example, she has learned to be understanding when Skip needs to monitor a game during their movie nights, or when he gets distracted by his laptop. While it's not always easy, Ernestine chooses to focus on the positives in their relationship. Regardless of these challenges, Ernestine and Skip have a strong bond. They have fun together and enjoy each other's company. Skip often says that he has never been bored with Ernestine, not even for a second in their 17 years together. This mutual admiration and love have helped them navigate the difficulties that come with Skip's sports-centric lifestyle. Yet, even with all this compromise, Ernestine has also had to deal with controversies that Skip has been involved in, especially one very recent one that has been in news headlines for quite some time now. Stick around to find out how she handles these controversies. Ernestine's way of wife dealing with controversies Skip has been involved in. Over the years, Skip has made a name for himself with his outspoken opinions and fiery comments on various topics. But as always, with fame comes criticism, and Skip has found himself at the center of many controversies. Throughout it all, Ernestine Sclafani, his wife, has been by his side, supporting him through the challenges that arise from these public disputes. This is a story of how Ernestine deals with the controversies Skip has been involved in, including the most recent allegations made against him. What are your thoughts about the futuristic city you found? What's most surprising for you about the revelation of the Book of Enoch? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.